Well, it does feel good to be back. I will say that. And do you realize I did this morning as I was preparing? It was 2 years ago today that we had our first service here, that we moved in. Yeah, so we've been here 2 years. We're starting year three of a 3 year lease. So, ladies, we're going to have to talk about that if we want to extend and stay put and all that good stuff. Talking about the time. Time flies, doesn't it? Yeah. And that's what I want to talk about today is time. And I want to talk about it from the perspective of rest. From the perspective of rest. And have we forgotten how to rest? Are we so busy doing that we've forgotten how to be? Since I've just completed the sabbatical, it's kind of fresh in my mind. So I want to share some things with you about the time that I was away, some of the perspectives and things that I've received. And then also, I want to take us back. If you remember, I think it was last year sometime, we did a little book by Eric Butterworth called The Creative Life. And it's where he gives us the metaphysical interpretation of the Genesis story and the 7 days of creation. Fascinating analysis of it and metaphysics of it, and very interesting. But I want to go to day 7. And if you remember the story, book of Genesis, in the beginning, God, right? 7 days, created everything. And then God was so tired. He had to take a nap. I'm taking the day off, right? Seventh day, what happened? And God rested. And God rested. And this is the true God in man's image, right? That we have created, that this human form. And I don't know about you, but my God's a little bigger than that. Presence, essence, spirit, infinite intelligence, all of the power that created everything that is and beyond and what we don't even know about, right? It's the all. It doesn't get tired. I think I can speak on authority there. I just think so. It doesn't get tired. There's no tired in God. There's no tired in God. So today I want to talk about this idea of God rested and what that means for us in the creation story of our lives and the way that we create. So we're going to look at that. And our series this month is called Graceful Changes. Now, if you've ever tried to make a change, you know that they're usually very messy and it's not usually graceful, right? Because we want to make the change, we want something new, but we're trying to hold on to the old because it's so stinking comfortable, right? So there's this tug of war going on for the change. And so this month, we're going to incorporate the idea of graceful change, how we can use grace to step more easily into change. And today my talk is and God rested. So I want to start with a question. And my question, I want you to think of products, okay? Think of products, marketing things. Joe will probably get this one. When I say the phrase, the pause that refreshes, what do you think of? Yeah, Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola, the pause that refreshes. It was part of their marketing campaign that they used in 1929. And I know Beverly's not that old. It was 1929, and it was only used for about 3 years. And yet, we know it, right? So today, I want to borrow it. It's 93 years old. I don't think Coke's going to mind if I borrow it for 20 minutes this morning. I think they'll be okay with it. So I'm borrowing that idea and looking at this this Sabbath being that pause that refreshes us, that rest that refreshes us. Science of Mind teaches us that God is all, right? That God created all of itself. And there's one self existent cause. And that we replicate that creative process, that thought of the divine that creates out of itself is replicated in us, that our thoughts then create through the action and activity of the law, right? We know that. So we're going to go back to Science of Mind 101 for just a couple of minutes because I want to show you something. Ernest Holmes created that teaching symbol. It's hanging in the bookstore on that wall, the big silver thing. It's got the 2 lines on it and the V. And the top portion is spirit, source. The middle portion is the law. The bottom portion is the manifestation. So Ernest, if you are familiar with Ernest, he was not light on words. He had lots of words. And he liked to tell us things in many, many, many different ways. In case you missed understanding a certain way, he wanted to give it to you a different way, and maybe a different way and a different way. So he's a little repetitive, but he makes his point. And so when he created these teaching symbols, in the back of the Science of Mind textbook, he has these metaphysical charts. And metaphysical chart number 1 looks like this. And this is actually from I believe, the 1926 version. I may be wrong. But if you see, where are my highlights? Yeah, there we go. So the top portion, this is, no, other one for metaphysical chart 1. Did the highlights go away?
I only have 2.
Okay, that's fine. This is where Ernest is suggesting this is how spirit created. Spirit, absolute, first cause, masculine, active, conscious mind, purposefulness, self-propelling, self-existent, volition, action words, not aggressive, but assertive, right? Planting that seed. Now, if we go to metaphysical chart 2B, the next one, he says that man reenacts this whole, that we create the same way. And if you look at the top, spirit is where the ideas come from, right? It's intellect, purpose, decision, will, individuality, mental. So those are we're receiving these ideas, and all of this is cooking in our minds is how we're going to then deposit this into the law to plant our seed. A little different from the way spirit does, but spirit's still the source, right? Let's go back, Joe. So when we get to the law portion, this is spirit. Spirit, I love this one. You know, Ernest loved the movies, right? Remember, he was on the set of 10 Commandments. Cinema pictures. Now imagine Ernest going, watch that film go into the projector. It's got the image on it already. And the projector simply shines a light that projects the picture exactly like it is on the film. And that's what he's saying here is that spirit simply thinks and the law manifests. There's no doing. There's no doing. It's just made manifest. It's passive and receptive, feminine, neutral. It's just passive, right? Now we go to man creating. Look what's in there. Next one. The other one. Perfect. This one, you notice there's some stuff in there. It's karma, aura, memory, conflict, psyche, inherited tendencies, race suggestions, prenatal conditions. Ew, that sounds like some conditions, doesn't it? Well, if you've ever had a technical term here, wonky manifestation, remember, those are the things that through which we filter what goes into law. So that film that Ernest is talking about, the cinema pictures, our film might have some spots on it. Because when we had received this creative idea from the divine, we say, yeah, but, well, I'm not sure how that would work. I have to put this limitation on it because it can't be that big. We put our stuff on it, don't we? We put our stuff on it, and we limit that ease of which the law will manifest in our lives. So, Science of Mind 101, okay? Back to basics for a minute. The point is that the activity in the creation portion, the thought or the idea, that's the doingness, right? And if we can get to the way Spirit allows creation, then we'll have better results in our life, won't we? When we can let go. So when we start talking about this idea of manifesting and we learn to do it and we're successful at it. Anybody been successful at manifesting anything? Yeah. Do you ever find yourself feeling like you're working? I got to do my prayers. I got to do my affirmations. I got to hold my intention. I got to stay focused on this. I got to do this. I got to do that. We can get so busy with it that we forget that our job is to allow, right? Is to allow that to be made manifest. So the idea of the Sabbath is actually a pause in creation. Let's do a little science. Have a little fun with some science of mind, okay? So when the Genesis story is told, God created in 7 days and took a nap. Then science comes along and says, what? There was a big bang. And my question's always been, what banged? A bang would be two things colliding or something exploding, right? So is it possible, I posit a theory, is it possible that the infinite intelligence was creating of itself all of these ideas? Now remember, Spirit did not say, I want to create light. So let me get my slide ruler and my pencil and some paper, and I'm going to write out how would I go about creating light? How would I do that? It's not how it happened, is it? It was let there be light. Done. I'm going to rest. And so that's what the process is. If Spirit was creating all of that in mind, and the only substance was Spirit from which it could come, then what banged is the evolutionary time frame required for all of that to come forth into evolutionary manifestation. The planets had to cool off to some temperature that might be habitable. The sun had to settle down somewhat. It took evolution and time. That, in my theory, is the pause in creation, and God rested. And then allow the laws of the universe to simply project through the proper amount of time. Now, how much patience do we have in our manifestations? I want it now, right? Come on, where's my stuff? We have to take the pause. Maybe I'll pray harder. I'll say more affirmations. I'll call Reverend Jill and have her pray with me. I'll get Reverend Lee. He's a good prayer. He'll pray it in. Rather than taking the Sabbath rather, and resting and allowing all of the pieces and the parts and the components and everything that has to come together. It's time to evolve and come together for the perfect unfoldment, for the highest and best for you. Got a great example. This sabbatical. I was reminded during book study when I was just telling them that I was going to be taking this time away. It's like, Reverend Jill, you set that intention last year, remember? Oh, maybe. Yeah, I kind of remember. One of the books we did, we were setting some intentions, but then I let it go. And I don't know that honestly, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that my letting go was as intentional as it probably should have been. I got busy, but I let it go. But the intention was there. And then, unbeknownst to me, forces in my life began to come together to bring this to fruition. Reverend Lee was not real active in the community at that time when that intention was set. And yet, through events, he became more active. He stepped in, he got engaged. And then I invited. The moving my feet part of my treatment was to take action and invite this gift of Spirit that showed up and said, need any help? Thank you, God. And then for him to be willing to step in and do this. So that is the pause in the manifestation, in the planting of the seed, and the allowing of it to be made manifest in our lives. And so that pause in creation, that intermission in our doingness and our busyness and our looking for and focusing on the fact that it's not here, creating chaos. It's like digging up the seed, right? You don't do that. You plant the seed and you let nature take its course. That's what we do. That's what we do. Anybody ever baked bread? All right, you make your yeast and you do your flour and a little salt and milk or water or whatever. You have this little ball of dough, right? You don't throw that in the oven, do you? You put it in a bowl and you cover it up and you go away. And when you come back, it's a full big thing of dough now, right? There's an alchemy that goes on. It transforms. It has to go into the dark for a little bit and rise to the fullest expression of itself so that it can become light, fluffy bread. It's a great analogy for how we can be in our Sabbath. Go into the quiet, allow ourselves to rise and expand and grow into our greater expression of consciousness. We have to expand our consciousness to be a bigger vessel to receive that which we believe to be missing in our lives today. There's nothing missing, but sometimes we believe there is. And as long as we hold that belief, our consciousness stays small. We need to expand that. So the whole point of this idea of Sabbath is the letting and resting, the letting and resting. I'm going to invite you to do something. And Jennifer's song was perfect here for this. We could just play it again, but we're not. We're going to use the real thing. I invite you to feel your heartbeat. I don't know if you can feel it in your chest or your neck or your wrist, wherever you can feel it. Everybody got it? Feel that rhythm? Yeah. Did you know that your heart beats on average 75 times a minute? Average is somewhere between 60 and 100, depending. But they say the average is about 75 beats per second. Per minute. That means that it's over 39 million beats per year. Now, studies show us that a person of the age of 50, their heart has been still for 30 years. Resting, letting. The very rhythm of our body, the most important muscle that we have in our bodies, rests. Rests. We're a great example of being in the likeness and image of Spirit. Spirit let and rest. Our bodies let and rest. Our heart lets and rest. So it's good for us to check in periodically with ourselves and see if we are living, loving, and working in this divine flow of the universe. Or are we pushing and resisting it and trying to take care of everything ourselves? We can rest. We can rest. We can take our own Sabbath. So what about you? I just got 6 weeks. Where do you rest? How do you rest? Do you rest? I'll share with you some of the perspectives and realizations that I had with my time away. And the first one that I had, I love Zig Ziglar, and he's got an old story about how to cook a frog. You probably heard it. And he says, well, if you throw a frog in a pot of boiling water, he's going to jump right out. Too much contrast, too hot, not for me, I'm out of here. He said, the way you cook a frog is you put him in a pot of tepid water. And then you gradually turn up the heat until boiling. And before you know it, the frog's cooked and the frog doesn't even know it. Now, I know that's kind of a gross story, but anyway, it's a good example of what can happen in our lives with stress. Anyone that is stressed, burned out, feeling tired, overworked, fatigued, it doesn't happen usually in an instant, does it? It's over that time. It's over time, and it just builds up a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And so I realized for me that I had taken on a lot over the last 7 years. And I'd done a lot, and I was taking on more, not just the center, but in all of my life. And so I was feeling a little bit like that frog in that pot. And so I set some intentions when I started the retreat or the sabbatical. And one of them was, all right, Jill, you're not going to keep doing your same old stuff, right? You're not going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to go in and get on the computer. You're not going to, right? I'm giving myself all these knots. I love how the universe supports us. So, we went to Hawaii, as you know, for the first 10 days. A lot of time on the beach, did Pearl Harbor, walked around a lot, met a lot of fascinating people from all over the world, had a really nice, lovely time. Then I got back and I wasn't feeling 1,000%. So I, did the old COVID thing and nothing there, thank goodness. And talked to the doctor and she said, let's do a chest x ray. So we did. And she called and she said, you've got pneumonia. What? What? And so for the next 10 days, I rested. I had no energy or desire to go in the office. I slept a lot. Um, Intention manifested. Spirit gave me a large boot in the butt to say, yeah, you're not going to stay out of that office. Come on. So I had a lot of rest and relaxation for the first 10 or 15 days of my time away. Got all better and went the next week to Sedona to the Mago Retreat Center. It's a beautiful retreat center. It's run by Koreans who practice the Tao. And that's not the place for it, but that's okay. It's run by the um, Koreans who have practiced the Tao. And so it wasn't exactly the retreat I thought I was signing up for. It was a little more busy and active than I had anticipated, but it was very good. And it took me back to beginner mind. And that was interesting also because I had found myself forgetting that place from teaching and missing that a little bit in some of my talks and things. And so this was a way for me to get back to that. So it was another manifestation of an intention that was set that I forgot about. And had a lovely time there and did learn qigong, which was really fun. If you've never done that, it's really a fun thing to do. And so I was starting to feel whole again by mid-month. And when I got back, I started thinking, gosh, it's the middle of May. I better start working on June. No, you're still on your sabbatical. Let it wait. Let it wait. Way out of my box. And so then the next week was my girls' trip to Mexico, my annual trip. The girls get together and we go down every year to Mexico to a beautiful beach house. And through a wonderful serendipitous event, I was able to go a day early and spend a day and a half alone with nobody around and nothing to do and nobody asking me to do anything or making me go listen to a lecture or do qigong or it was just me. And so it was lovely to just be in nature on the beach with the divine and to meditate and pray and contemplate and journal and write and just be. It was lovely and just really immersion process for me there. Girls showed up. We had a great time. So my trips went really well. I had a lot of fun with all of my trips. And what I realized is that I really am living in grace every day. And it's me that's again in the way of that living in grace by crowding so many things ahead of it, so many things in the way of recognizing it. So that was an important takeaway. And you can see here the photos. And I came up with this idea as I was summarizing this, the other benefit that I got was last Friday. Um, Two of our local ministers became ordained, Reverend Karen Lewis and Reverend Leslie Goodwin. And in Centers for Spiritual Living, we do it a little differently. Many ministers who come out of seminary are immediately licensed and ordained. Centers for Spiritual Living says, nah, we're going to do a little different. We will license you right out of school. You'll be legal, but you have to be in ministry, the practice of ministry, for at least 3 years, and then be recommended by your sponsor and your mentor to become ordained. And then you sit before an ordination panel. And at that point, then you become ordained. And ordination is presented, excuse me, much like a marriage, that you are now married to ministry. And as one of the reverends said last week, one from which you cannot get divorced. So just ask Reverend Lee. Yes. So going to the ordination, I wasn't going to go. It's like, it's the last of my sabbatical. Do I want to put the robe on and do all that stuff? And I said yes, because when we ministers hear that ordination call again for the minister on the stage, it refreshes and renews our call. And so it was a wonderful way for me to immerse myself back into the flow of ministry, be surrounded by my colleagues, and to really gain some perspective on what this retreat time, this sabbatical time, this Sabbath time was for me. And this is the idea that came to me, was it was we time, it was me time, and it was girls time. And those three areas of my life had become a little neglected, frankly, in the time categories. So it was important for me to get that back in balance. And so that was part of what I was doing also, was that reconnecting with me, we, and friends. So I highly recommend a sabbatical, a retreat, a Sabbath, time with self, time away. It is definitely very enriching, definitely enriching. So let's move into some practicing the principles this morning. Now, Monday Mindful Monday is now going to return from its sabbatical also. It's back tomorrow. So if you have not signed up, you can do so in the lobby. If you're online and you would like to send me an email, I'll get you on the list. And this is just a summary, really, of today's talk, plus the practices that you can use throughout your week to apply these principles in your life, to actually use them and see if they are transformative for you. So today, our first one is this: we, me, and friends. And I invite you this week to take some time and ask yourself about your relationships. If you have a spouse, partner, significant other, or maybe it's close family, what is your relationship there? What is your relationship with me, with you individually? Are you taking time for you? Are you spending time with you? And not, it's not necessarily a spa day or, those sorts of things. It's really that reflective time of connection, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, with your body, with your health. We disconnect from our bodies a lot and ignore them. But mind and body connection, are you connected with that? And then your friends. Are there friends that you're not connecting with in meaningful ways? It's important that we tend the garden of our relationships so that we can have a healthy community around us. We've all experienced isolation and it wasn't a lot of fun. So maintaining that garden of our relationships is important. For me, I look at that as kind of a three-legged stool. And if any one of those gets out of alignment, there's a little teetering going on. Love Ron to death, but I can't spend 24/7 with him, nor can he spend 24/7 with me. He needs his friends, I need mine. I need my me time, he needs his me time. And we need our we time. So find that balance in your life, reflect on it, and understand what is important and where you may be neglecting it and why you are neglecting it. Why you're neglecting it. What have you allowed to get in the way? Number two, I'm going to invite you to take a time out. Put yourself in time out this week. You can try this, and it's really incorporating the idea of the Sabbath every day. It's only, let's say, 7 days. Schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Some amount of time where you step away and have a mini Sabbath for yourself. Maybe you simply go mindfully make tea, like a Japanese tea ceremony. Just very mindfully be present with that. And not just take the cup of tea back to your coffee, back to your desk and start working on the computer again. Enjoy the full experience. Do yoga or another practice of the body. You can pick a song, 5-minute song that you just pop in your earbuds, turn off the computer, close your eyes, and just listen to that song. Be with it for 5 minutes. Make that your me time every single day, your little mini Sabbath every day. Other ideas, yoga, qigong, step away from the screen, unplug, listen to music, take a walk, do some yoga stretches. Do something to give yourself that pause in creation, to simply allow everything you're creating to catch up with you, to allow the laws of the universe to bring things together to make life easier for you. Give yourself that gift. All right, so that is our practicing the principles. And I have a quote for us today from The Science of Mind, and it's from Ernest Holmes. And if you have any challenge, or if you ever have a challenge, going to sleep, resting, staying asleep, insomnia, any of those things, page 257 in the text, he has a full treatment about resting, a full treatment about resting. I just took three or four lines from it this morning for us because I thought it really applied to our talk. He says, rest permeates my mind and body with its healing presence. I do not try to make anything happen. I let the Spirit take care of the universe and my affairs while I release all responsibility. I am at peace. Is that beautiful? Yeah. If Spirit can take care of the universe, I think Spirit can take care of my little box of affairs. Would you join me for a prayer this morning? As we recognize the allness that God is, that Spirit is, the infinite presence, the everywhere presence. There's no place that it's not. And therefore, all of it is right here, right now, present. It is in, through, and as each one of us, in, through, and as this room. It permeates our very breath. It is that rhythm that we feel within us, that heartbeat, that flow of the universe. And we are in absolute unity, harmony, and alignment with that. For it is who and what we are. So there's no way that we can be out of true alignment with it. We are one. Those gathered in this room, online, listening in the future, we are one in this collective consciousness, this consciousness of life. And so today I speak my word for and about each of us, knowing that whatever we've allowed to get in the way, turn up the heat, whatever that might be, whichever analogy we like, whatever that might be, that we make a choice to step back, to rest, and to simply be, to allow that pause in the creation of our super spectacular and wonderful lives that we're all working on. we pause and allow creation to catch up with us. Allow all of the forces of the universe and all of the things and people and places and events and everything that needs to come into alignment, into our sphere, in order to support us in that manifestation, to allow those things to happen in their perfect right time and order for the highest expression of who and what we are. We've planted our seeds. We know we've planted our intentions in January. We know what we are intending to experience in our lives. And so, with grace, with ease, we step back, we pause, we rest. And so today, I know that anyone that has something on their hearts that they seek prayer around, as they lift that into the consciousness of this prayer, that I and this community, we surround this in this prayer right here, right now, knowing its full manifestation, knowing its perfect right outcome and the perfect right time and order, and that it unfolds exactly as it is meant to. Whether it's prosperity or health or relationship or career, creative endeavor, it is made manifest. And so it is with a grateful heart filled with joy and so much thanksgiving that I release this prayer into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is done. And we affirm this together by saying, and so it is.